Stop worrying. Not because your problems are small, but because you were never meant to carry them. Right now, somewhere in your life, there is a problem you keep thinking about, replaying, trying to fix. And the more you think, the heavier it feels. But what if I told you that the very act of worrying is what keeps the problem alive? You were taught to believe that solutions come from effort, stress, and control. But the greatest truth you will ever discover is this: the moment you stop worrying, life begins to work for you. This is not positive thinking. This is not denial. This is understanding who you truly are and how reality actually responds. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you will know exactly how to release every burden and allow God to move on your behalf, naturally, effortlessly, and permanently. Worry is not something that happens to you, it is something you do. And once this is understood, its power immediately begins to dissolve. Every worry is an act of imagination pointed in the wrong direction. You are creating scenes in your mind, feeling them as real, and then wondering why life reflects the same tension back to you. The mind was never designed to rehearse problems. It was designed to create outcomes. Yet when worry becomes a habit, imagination is unconsciously used to predict failure, delay, or loss. You mentally live in situations that have not yet happened, feel their emotional weight as if they are real, and then call it being realistic. But reality does not respond to logic, it responds to feeling. The moment you imagine something with emotion, your inner world accepts it as true. The body responds, the nervous system reacts, and soon life mirrors the inner state. This is why worry feels exhausting. You are repeatedly living an unwanted future before it ever arrives. What you must realize is this: imagination does not judge. It does not know right from wrong, good from bad. It simply creates according to direction. When directed by fear, it multiplies fear. When guided by trust, it produces harmony. To stop worrying, you do not suppress thoughts. You redirect imagination. Instead of asking, "What if this goes wrong?" you gently assume, "This is working out in my favor," not as a hope, but as a quiet inner acceptance. The moment imagination shifts, the inner atmosphere changes. And when the inner atmosphere changes, the outer world has no choice but to follow. Worry fades not because problems vanish, because you are no longer feeding them with creative power. Imagination is sacred. When you stop misusing it, life begins to move effortlessly on your behalf. Most people believe that change comes through struggle, effort, and constant mental pressure. They think that if they worry enough, plan enough, or try hard enough, life will eventually respond. But effort does not move reality. Assumption does. What you quietly accept as true within yourself becomes the pattern life must follow. God does not respond to desperation. God responds to identity. Life rearranges itself not according to what you ask for, but according to what you are being. This is why forcing outcomes feels exhausting and often produces resistance. You are attempting to change the world without first changing the state from which you view it. Assumption is a silent decision. It is not loud. It does not argue. It simply rests in the knowing that something already is. When you assume health, the body begins to respond. When you assume peace, situations soften. When you assume success, doors open without struggle. This is not magic, it is alignment. Effort says, "I must make this happen." Assumption says, "This is already happening." The moment you shift from effort to assumption, tension leaves the mind. You stop chasing signs and start living as if the answer is settled. And life, being a mirror, reflects that inner settlement back to you. This is why trying to fix things often delays them. The effort itself declares lack, but assumption declares fulfillment. And fulfillment is the language God understands. To live by assumption means you no longer wait for permission from circumstances. You move inwardly into the feeling of completion. You speak, think, and respond from the state of the wish already fulfilled. When assumption becomes natural, effort becomes unnecessary. Life flows instead of resists. and you realize that God has been solving your problems all along, waiting only for you to stop trying and start accepting. Every problem continues only because it is emotionally unfinished within you. The moment it feels complete on the inside, it begins to dissolve on the outside. This is why thinking about solutions is never enough. Thought may analyze, but feeling finalizes. Life does not respond to words or affirmations alone. It responds to the emotional state you return to again and again. If the feeling of tension, urgency, or fear is still present, the problem remains active. But when the feeling shifts to relief, calm, and certainty, something profound occurs. The problem has reached its end internally. To feel the problem already solved is not pretending. It is not forcing happiness. It is allowing yourself to experience the emotional aftermath of success before the physical evidence appears. Ask yourself, how would I feel if this were completely resolved? Then remain there gently, without effort. Relief is the clearest signal of completion. When you can breathe easier, when the mind stops racing, when the body relaxes, creation is finished. The outer world must now rearrange itself to match this inner conclusion. Most people wait for life to change before they allow themselves peace. But this reverses the law. Peace comes first. Evidence follows. When you insist on feeling resolved now, you remove resistance and stop postponing your good. The feeling of "it is done" is quiet. It does not beg. It does not check constantly. It trusts. And trust is not passive. It is creative. Once the feeling of completion becomes natural, worry cannot survive. There is nothing left to fix, nothing left to fear. You have already accepted the end. When you consistently return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, life has no alternative but to deliver the matching experience. The feeling is the command, and when it is assumed fully, the solution moves into form effortlessly. The moment you ask, "How will this happen?" you quietly step out of faith and back into fear. The question, "How?" belongs to the limited mind, not to divine intelligence. It assumes that the way is unknown, complicated, or difficult, and in doing so, it creates resistance. The mind wants a method. It wants a timeline. It wants visible steps before it will allow peace. But life does not work in that order. When you demand to know how, you are trying to control the process instead of trusting the power that governs it. Every great transformation occurs without your awareness of the mechanics behind it. You do not ask how your heart beats or how a seed becomes a tree. It simply happens because the law of life knows its own way. In the same manner, solutions unfold naturally when you stop interfering with questions. Asking how keeps you mentally waiting. It delays acceptance. It places peace in the future instead of allowing it now. And as long as peace is postponed, the condition remains active. Faith is not blindness. It is rest. It is the willingness to remain calm without needing proof. When you release the need to understand the process, you allow intelligence far greater than logic to move freely. To stop asking how is not to become careless. It is to become aligned. You focus only on the end, the feeling of resolution, and leave the unfolding to a higher order. When you no longer ask how, doors open unexpectedly. People appear. Circumstances shift in ways you could never plan, and later you realize that the solution arrived with precision, timing, and ease. The mind may never understand the path, but life does. And once you trust that, the question disappears, replaced by quiet certainty and inner peace. Inner peace is not a luxury. It is not something you earn after problems are solved. Inner peace is a directive, a command that life must obey. Whatever state you consistently occupy becomes the instruction given to reality. And no state speaks louder than peace. When you are peaceful, you are no longer resisting life. Resistance is what keeps problems active. It is the inner argument that says, "This should not be happening," or "This must change before I can be calm." Peace ends the argument. And when the argument ends, the situation loses its energy. Peace does not mean you ignore challenges. It means you refuse to give them authority over your inner world. The moment you choose peace, you reclaim creative control. You stop feeding conditions with emotional reaction and start allowing solutions to form naturally. Life responds instantly to inner stillness. Opportunities appear where there were none. Tension in relationships dissolves. What once felt blocked begins to move. Not because you forced change, but because peace removed the obstruction. Peace is powerful because it implies trust. It says, I know this is handled, and that assumption activates intelligence far beyond personal effort. When peace becomes your natural state, you no longer need to visualize constantly or repeat affirmations desperately. Your calm presence itself becomes the message. Most people try to change circumstances to feel peace, but peace is the cause, not the effect. The moment peace is chosen, circumstances begin to reorganize. Make peace your daily decision. Return to it whenever the mind drifts into fear. Let it be your highest command, your silent prayer, your unshakable foundation. When peace governs within you, life must reflect harmony without, and you discover that peace was never the absence of problems. It was always the solution itself. Now you understand something most never realize. Your peace is not a reward. It is a decision. And the moment you choose peace, the problem loses its power. You do not need to chase solutions. You do not need to fight circumstances. You only need to rest in the knowing that what you have accepted internally must appear externally. Let go tonight. Lay the burden down. Assume the feeling of relief as your natural state. When you stop worrying, you stop interfering. And when you stop interfering, God moves freely through you. Trust this. Live from this. And watch how life unfolds in ways you could never plan. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing awareness over fear and trust over struggle. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to sit quietly and feel the peace that is already present. And if you wish, share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Until next time, remain still, remain faithful, and remember, it is already done.